All prophets are watchmen, but not all watchmen are prophets. And so on today's Tuesday teaching, I'm going to be sharing with you about the difference between the prophetic watchman and the watcher. If you don't know who I am, I'm Deborah, and I'm the founder of the Writers Incorn International. I'm also the author of the Scribe Watchman. And so on today, I just wanted to take you into this very pivotal and important teaching. I have my notes here. I have my Bible. So grab you a pen, grab you a piece of paper, and let's talk. I will not be with you long. So if you see me looking down, understand that I am looking down because I want to make sure that you get this information. When it comes to being a prophetic watchman, it is a very important role. And it's even more important now, especially during these end times when there's so much going on, when there's fires going on in California, when there's flooding, when there's excessive snow, and when we know that more storms are going to come and that it may get more intense before it gets better. So when we talk about the prophet watchman, who is the prophetic watchman? I want to start by saying that if you go to Ezekiel 3, verse 17, you will see where it says, Son of man, I have made you a watchman for the people of Israel. So hear the word I speak and give them a warning from me. What people don't understand is that watchmen often warn. They warn of dangers that are coming on the earth. And so sometimes people look at watchmen as terrible people. Prophets that are true to God are watchmen, but not all watchmen are prophets. What do I mean by that? Let me explain to you. When you see the Weather Channel, they are watching for the weather. They are not necessarily prophetic, but they are watching to see what's taking place. When you see a security guard, they are watching and taking care of the property or the premises that they have been assigned, but they may not necessarily be a prophet. So if you want to go understand the role and the responsibilities of the watchman, I'm going to ask you to go ahead and let's read Ezekiel 33, verses 1 through 9. You see, the watchman's role is very, very serious. They warn of danger, they intercede through prayer, they proclaim God's truth, they encourage people to repent and to turn back to God. So let's read. It says, again, the word of the Lord came to me saying, Son of man, speak to the children of your people. They are given an assignment. God directs them who they are to speak to. When I bring the sword upon the land, and the people of the land take a man from their territory and make him their watchman, when he sees the sword coming upon the land, if he blows the trumpet and warns the people, then whoever hears the sound of the trumpet and does not take warning, if the sword comes and takes him away, his blood shall be upon his own head. He heard the sound of the trumpet, but did not take the warning. His blood shall be upon himself, but he who takes the warning will save his life. Is God not warning us through the signs in the heavens, through what's going on in the land? Is God not warning us to take heed? Has God not sent prophet after prophet to encourage people to leave certain areas, but yet they keep nestling down? They shake their fists at God and think he's a joke. The fear of the Lord is on the land, and we must take heed. Reading on. But if the watchman sees the sword coming and does not blow the trumpet, people are not warned, and the sword comes and takes any person from among them, he is taken away in his iniquity. But his blood I will require at the watchman's hands. So when you see watchmen and they are warning you to take heed, you better take heed, because guess what? That warning is for you to take heed, move out of harm's way, to repent, to turn. But if that watchman watches and sees things coming and doesn't say anything, God is going to require that watchman to pay for it with the blood on that watchman's head. The role of the watchman is very, very serious. And it doesn't matter if you repeat yourself over and over and over again. As a watchman, if God has called you to be a watchman, you are to sound the alarm. If you don't know how to sound the alarm in love, seek God for how you need to present it. Do what you need to do. Write it down, but sure that you take your role as a responsible watchman seriously, especially in these days. Reading on verse 7. So you, son of man, I have made a watchman for the house of Israel. Has God made you a watchman for your nation, for your church, for your city, for your state, for your nation? What has God made you a watchman to? Has he called you to do it? Watchmen often see off in the distance. They see through dreams. They see through visions. I believe that most watchmen are seers, so they can see into the distance. They can peer into the future. God has not made them personal prophets or psychics, as some may call them, but they are spiritual watchmen. God shows them things so they can warn. Reading on, verse 8. When I say to the wicked, O wicked man, you shall surely die, and you do not speak to warn the wicked from his way, that wicked man shall die in his iniquity. But his blood I will require at your hand. God is not playing with the watchman. There's some of you, you may be listening to me. God has assigned you the role of the watchman, and you have kept your mouth closed. You have to speak up. This is a year where I believe that God is going to be moving people out of obscurity into the light, because the harvest must come in. The harvest of souls must come in. Verse 9. Nevertheless, if you warn the wicked to turn from his way, and he does not turn from his way, he shall die in his iniquity, but you have delivered your soul. You see, watchmen are relieved of their responsibility once they share with whoever God has assigned them to and warn them of what is coming. Then they can wash their hands, and their hands are clean. If you're called to be a watchman, it is time to sound the alarm. The scribal watchman is what God called me to be. So I write my messages and I post them and I send them out so that people can be prepared. Back in August, we warned of the snow and the storms. I know God speaks to us all the time to what to do and how to navigate what's coming. There are storms that are coming. We must be prepared. This is not a joke. Nestle down and press into God like never before. So, what are the watchers, you say? You see, some people think watchers are monitoring spirits. They're not. Monitoring spirits often come in the form of people. You see, these are the people that want to know so much about you. What are you doing today? How's it going? How's your daughter? How's your child? How's your pet? They want to know about you, but they very seldom share about themselves. They are often private people, or they give you very vague answers. They're people that also utilize demonic streams such as astral projection and using animals and insects to monitor you. These are low level demons. These are low level demons. Monitoring spirits or low level demons. They go and they monitor you so they can report back to a higher level demon to try to stop you, to try to stop your destiny, to try to block you. But if you know how to pray, you can block them spirits. But watchers, these are angelic beings, and they're mentioned in the book of Daniel. In Daniel 4, verses 13, it says, I saw the visions of heaven while on my bed, and there was a watcher. And there was a watcher, a holy one coming down from heaven. You see, watchers observe humanity and they carry out God's decrees. They are part of the heavenly court. They ensure that God's sovereignty and his justice is upheld. And in Daniel 4, verse 17, they announce God's judgment on King Nebuchadnezzar to teach him and everyone that God rules over the kingdoms of men. You see, watchers are not monitoring spirits. They're heavenly hosts. They're heavenly beings. So here's some key differences between the prophetic watchmen and the watchers. The key distinctions are prophetic watch or humans called by God to intercede, to warn, to guide, and to ask and to instruct people to repent. They can intercede. Sometimes God will show you something as a watchman that you may not be instructed to release to anyone, because maybe it's going to happen and you're just praying for their mercy. I know I was driving to Nashville recently, like last year, and as I was going around the mountains in Nashville, all of a sudden a spirit of intercession just came upon me, and I began to intercede and speak in tongues and pray over the Nashville region. Well, I thought about spending the night, and I decided, no, I'm not going to spend the night here. I'm going to hightail it back, because I felt like something was coming in that area, and that I don't know what has taken place in that Nashville region, but God was not happy. And so as I got back to that same night, I got back to the west side. I'm in the Memphis region. When I got back that next day, tornadoes broke out. I believe that God allowed me to go during that particular time to pray for region. There's a lot of things going on in Nashville. Nashville needs to wake up. And yes, there's a lot of things going on in Memphis. Memphis needs to wake up. But we have a national crisis that's going on. California, God has his hand on California. He wants them to awaken to repent and to turn to him. Watchers, prophetic watchmen or humans, watchers or angelic beings. They observe, they judge, and they enforce divine decrees. Watchers are sent by God to fulfill his assignment. A lot of times people will say, why did God allow this to happen to me? Why did God send the fires? Why did God send the tornadoes? Why is God sending the floods? Why is God sending the snow? Why is God sending the heat? You see, God doesn't have to do anything. He's the King of kings and the Lords of lords. He snaps his finger. He looks in one direction and it's done. We have to humble ourselves before a mighty and holy God. The fear of the Lord is on the earth. We have to humble ourselves and stay low and seek his face and his grace and his mercy. God doesn't do anything. All he has to do is look away, and destruction can occur. So here's some practical lessons that we can think about. What can we learn from these two roles? Well, first, as believers, we must adopt the mindset of a prophetic watchman. This means to stay spiritually vigilant. We need to intercede for others and for nations and for cities and our churches and our communities. We've forgotten about prayer. And just like we see things that are happening in earth, we have to remember that those that do not believe in God have forgotten that God is in control. He determines which way the wind blows, not us. We have to be bold in proclaiming God's truth when he leads us. And I believe I'm led to share this message with you so that you, if you're calling a watchman, that you can get in place now. You see, understanding the watchers reminds us that God is always sovereign. And even when we can't see the big picture, we can trust his plans. We can trust that he has the good in mind for us. We can trust that he has a future and a hope. And so let me give you a few closing thoughts. You see, the prophetic watchmen and the watchers both highlight God's love and his care for us and his creation. But one role focuses on human responsibility, and the other one focuses on God's divine governance. But together, they remind us to stay vigilant, to trust in God's sovereignty, to actively participate in his plans, to watch and pray. So I pray that you enjoyed this teaching, and that if God has called you to be a watchman, that you will take the role serious so that the blood of the people are not on your head when you see and you hear the sound of the trumpet. Until next time, my friends, shalom.